Alright, I got this Geco, however you'd say it. I'm going to just call it Gecko, like the little lizard. 7.62 by 39. These are brass cased, 124 grain, full metal jacket. So we're just going to do a little shooting review on these, accuracy test. So one thing I want to point out about these right away, and you can see it here with these 3 rounds. If you look at the one on your farthest left, you can see how much that bullet's sticking out of that case there compared to the one on the right here, how it's set further in. I've noticed that with every box of these I've opened, some of them are set further than the others, and that's going to affect your pressure, which is going to affect your velocity. But also, chambering and unchambering these at the house, I noticed that at least in this rifle, which is an Anderson AM-15 or whatever it's called for the 7.62 by 39 caliber.
So I'm gonna voice over here real quick. As you could tell, my microphone started making funny noises, and then there was another shooter next to me who started shooting his AR, and he couldn't really hear me anyways. So what I was trying to explain here, outside of the what I just showed there with some of the bullets being seated further in the case than in others, I was trying to explain that I noticed at the house, every once in a while I'll grab my gun, and if it's been sitting for 2 or 3 months, I will chamber and unchamber around just to make sure everything's still functioning properly, since it's been sitting for a few months, just to double check everything. That way, if I got to grab it to count on it, if anything goes down at the house, that it's going to function for me. Anyways, in doing so, I noticed that, at least with my rifle here, that every time I would do that, every time I chamber and unchamber a live round, it was pulling that bullet further and further out of the case, to where eventually it would just pop the bullet out of the case. So that's something you want to keep an eye on with those. I guess as long as you're not chambering and unchambering a live round to check functionality like I do every few months, it's not going to be a problem. But that's something that I wanted to make mention of.
So with that being said, I got this thing zeroed at 50 yards. So we'll try to take some 3 or 5 shot groups down there, probably 5 shot. See what kind of groups we can print. Now keep in mind this is just a factory stock Anderson, so it's got everything's completely stock.
So there you can tell why I had to voice over. Every time a gun goes off, my stupid microphone basically goes mute for a second. But what I was saying here is it's a factory stock rifle, so the trigger's not that great. Don't expect amazing groups. Same thing with the bag. I do alright off the bag, but it's not the most perfect setup. And then also I was stating that I would chrono these, except for just earlier in the day I was filming pistol videos and using the chronograph, and it quit working on me.
So we'll start out here, we'll do a few groups, I'll get you guys zoomed in on the target and whatnot. So we'll stay zoomed out for the first few shots or group or so, and then zoom in. Those are shoot and see, so we should be able to see groups at 50 yards before I have to run a camera down there. Alright, so there's the target and the results. We'll go over that here in a second. Just want to show you we're at 100 yards now. We were previously at those 50-yard mounds. So I got to set up down here to do some 100-yard groups. I also set the gong out there at 200, and I'll show you that when we get back up top there where we can see it. So this was my first group, cold bore. First shot, second shot, and then third shot, I didn't see anything, so it went through one of these same holes again, third or fourth there. So this was a 5-shot group, but one of those went through one of these holes that was already there. Pay no attention to that. That was horrible. I probably omitted it from the video. This was my second group. I was doing okay with these first 3 shots here. Then I pulled one to the right, and if I do include the footage, you might hear me yell out because I knew as soon as I pulled the trigger that I yanked it to the right. And then the next shot, or one of them thereafter, wasn't very much better. I yanked it high, so that's just screwed up. That was 100% me. Then I came over here and printed this. Not too bad. I think the first group's maybe a little tighter, but I don't have a perfect rest up there. I can see in my crosshairs I'm moving around about like this the whole time, so not 100% steady. So that gun would actually shoot those tighter. So when you factor, I mean, even not factoring that in, these 2 5-shot groups from it, that's not bad for 7.62x39. That's a pretty good group. So also once you factor in that it should be tighter than this, if I could remove all human error, this thing's actually shooting pretty good with those rounds. Now I don't know if that's more the Anderson or the ammo. I'm going to go with Anderson on that, but that's not too bad. So we'll try it at get some fresh targets on here and try my luck at 100 yards, and we'll have a camera down here for those shots so we can see them a lot better. Okay, so actually I used my brain instead, and we just put pasties over those holes like I should have been doing. I had a bad habit of forgetting to use those and just slapping new targets on there. So anyways, we're at 100 yards now. If you want to get yourself some of those targets, or the bag, or the camera holder, or anything like that, anything I use in these videos, make sure you check the links in the description for that. But we're at 100 yards now, so I'm going to try my luck at some groups down there. And then at 200 yards on that right side of that mound, roughly center screen right now, painted 16-inch steel gong. We hear that real nice, hopefully, through the video. So I'll get my groups down there at 100 yards, and we'll take a few whacks at that gong at 200 yards. Alright, so I got 10 rounds loaded up here in the mag. We will take our groups down there and then reach out to 200 at that gong. Alright, so that's not looking awesome. I switched back to the bag here because I wasn't happy with using my coat, but that's not working the greatest for me either. I need to invest in some better bags. That one's convenient because it's so portable. You just grab it and go. And as long as you're not trying to shoot super tight groups like what I'm doing right now, that bag's great for that. But I want to get something for the front where it's adjustable up and down, and then also have that bag for the back there so we can be rock steady. So I'm dealing with some movement, as I said, right now. So maybe this coat will work a little better for me. Try that on the second group here. Okay. I can't really tell through my scope there, but I wasn't seeing those last few hits, so I'm assuming they're hitting other holes down there. But we'll do one more group on the target on the left there. So here's 5 more. Yeah, that one was me. I pulled it to the right there. So anyways, let's load back up and then take some shots at that gong out there at 200 yards. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. I'll zoom in a little more after a few shots too. I missed my first shot somehow. I must have yanked it. Trying to go a little quick there. But I know we can't see it here, but all those shots, well, let me zoom out here. Pretty centralized group about that big down there. Now, I'll put it back here. I hold this camera a little more steady that way. Just going to be a little pixelated, zoomed in all the way there. Alright, so there's our 100-yard groups. I'll get a measurement on these once we get it back up to the table. So there's our first group, looking about 3.5 inches on that. Second group about the same, and then I guess I just screwed up over here because I flung one clear up there, and then I also told you guys I flung that one too, so that was pretty bad on my part there, but we'll get a rudimentary measurement on this here in a second. Okay, so I forgot I actually have the tape measure on me here. Yeah, about 3.5. Well, let me spin it up there so you guys know. Edge to edge, what's that, about 3.5? Yep, edge to edge, so center to center to be slightly smaller. And a little larger on that, 3 3/4 edge to edge. So, you know, that's pretty typical accuracy at 100 yards for budget ARs in either 223, 5.56, or 7.62x39 caliber. It's pretty typical accuracy for AK-47 at that range as well. But I'm telling you, like I've been saying throughout this video, I'm not 100% steady, so it would shoot better still. So, but with that being said, that is our results today. Alright, so there's our hits at 200. Now, so I figured out why I missed the first shot on both of those 5 shots I took at this. It's because I was aiming up around here because I knew it was going to drop some at 200. And so basically, I believe, I mean, maybe the footage will show something different, but I'm pretty sure because of this one shot here that I was actually shooting just over it on those first shots that I missed. But I believe that's due to inconsistency in the ammunition at this distance. Like I was speaking earlier about possibly having inconsistent pressure due to their bullet depths varying. And like I said, I would have chronoed it if the chrono hadn't quit working on me earlier today. But anyways, I was aiming right here and hit right there on that shot. So I was like, oh shoot. Okay, well, some of them are hitting right where I'm aiming. So that's why some of them aiming up here, I must have missed over the top. And then some of them aiming up here are dropping a few inches. So that's the difference in velocity causing that up and down variance. And then some of these are this low as well, because once I realized that, I started aiming just a hair lower. But anyways, somewhat rapid fire, you know, I wasn't trying to take my time and be super accurate or anything, just slinging them down here. And you can see that, I mean, there's my hand, and I have small hand, guys. Like, seriously, I wear small. So you're talking, oh, what's this? Probably 5-6 inches across. That's probably about 8 inches up and down. And like I said, that lowest one at least was because I aimed a little lower after realizing what was happening. So, you know, just for slinging them down here, not trying to really be cautious or anything, that's still a pretty good group. That's definitely a minute of man right there, easily. All right, well, so that's our results there, guys. I don't really expect any less from this ammunition. I didn't expect it to be fantastic either. Just for me, it's nice that it's brass case. I guess some of these AR platforms, 7.62x39, they can be finicky with ammunition. Me personally, I've never had an issue with this Anderson. Which, by the way, if you want to see the review video on that rifle, I'll put a link to that in the description as well, so you can check that out if you want. But this Anderson will feed anything, including the steel case, so it's not an issue. But it's, you know, just nice to know for extra assurance, just in case, especially if you're keeping it loaded for personal defense at home or whatever, a ranch rifle or something. You know, brass will feed a little more smoothly than steel. Also, you know, I just wanted to try this stuff out because prices are obviously elevated right now, but I got this stuff for not much more than what steel was running at the time, so I figured why not and give it a shot and try it out. So other than the issue I hit on in the beginning with the seating of the bullet, the depth being different, because you can see again they're on the left, and these are just, I didn't even have this prepared, it was just the last 5 out of that box. The one on the left there is not fully seated, whereas the one on the right is. And every box I opened, as I said, they've all been like that. Some of them are seated further than the others, so that may affect the pressures, and at least at those longer ranges out there at 200, that might be what's affecting the up and down variance depending on where it hits, because we're probably getting different velocities. Probably a pretty decent extreme spread there due to those likely inconsistent pressures due to that. And then, like I also said, if you chamber and unchamber one of these rounds a few times, it keeps pulling that bullet out, at least in my gun. It keeps pulling it out further and further and further and further. So as long as you're not doing that, it's not going to be an issue. If you just load up the mag and stick them in, you're going to be fine. But I just figured that since I noticed that, I should mention that. Which, by the way, I also tried to replicate that with Wolf and Tula, doing the same thing, chambering and unchambering a live round over and over, and it was not pulling those bullets out. But with these Gecos, or however you say it, every time I would unchamber the live round, it'd pull that bullet out a little further and a little further each time. So it's not just that it's my gun or anything, it's definitely these bullets that are causing that issue, because Wolf and Tula did not do that to me. But yeah, other than that, it's been this ammunition's been 100% reliable for me. I did have the more traditional magazine loaded up. New guidelines with YouTube, you're not even supposed to show that on the table, or you won't be able to fully monetize your video. And I'm trying to make a living off of this, so obviously I want to fully monetize. But I did off camera shoot through the more traditional magazine, fully loaded, had no issues with feeding, no issues with extraction. Every single round I fired today of these, which I don't even, well, more than these boxes, I've already thrown a few boxes away, probably about 100 rounds. No issues whatsoever. I believe I heard a couple reports of people having light primer strikes on these, but I have not had that issue one single time, at least with my Anderson there. That's what they are looking like for me. So I don't know about the validity of those claims. Well, I'm sure they're valid, but you know, I don't know if it was like it was something to do with their gun, or so maybe these have a little bit harder primers, maybe they don't, so that's a possibility. But for me, it has been a non-issue. So anyways, other than that, I'm going to be testing some of these Bellums, if I'm saying that right. I'm sure someone will probably correct me on that. 7.62x39, 123 grain full metal jacket. I'll be testing these next. So if you want to catch that for comparison's sake, stay tuned for that. Again, if interested in any of the products I use in my videos, targets, target stand, earmuffs, bag, all that good stuff, links in the description for that. But I want to thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.